Wade would also write, TNA has a tentative plan to begin a baseline drug testing at the next set of TV tapings on January 21st and 22nd. TNA head of talent relations, Terry Taylor, made the announcement prior to the Final Resolution pay-per-view on Sunday. Wrestlers have received advance notice, which will allow them 2 weeks to make any adjustments to their training programs before testing begins. How does this come to be? And this has to be a pretty costly initiative. I know that a lot of wrestling fans often say, well, this company's not testing and that company's testing. And everybody talks about it from that standpoint, but very few ever talk about the economic impact of that. This is not cheap to do. Why does TNA think it's necessary?
So you're going to have to help me out on this, but the whole, we'll call it the WWE wellness. It was headline news. It was just kind of an internal, I'll call it a response to things going on in the world. It was discussed at the very top about how expensive it was going to be. And they didn't ask my opinion. When I say they, Dallas didn't ask my opinion a lot on it. But when they did, I would probably more often than not respond with questions on what's your goal here? Like, what do you want out of this? Is it you're going to find folks, you're going to get a baseline test, and if they go over that, you're going to fine them, you're going to send them home, you're going to fire them? Like, what is our end goal? We're a privately held company, period. We're not in the WWE game where they're, they truly are beholden to Wall Street and their stockholders. Our reality isn't that. If our talent is healthy and monitored and checked, and they come to work as independent contractors and are performing, again, it's kind of like the eye test. Let's make sure everybody is doing what they need to do. I was always like, we're going to spend a lot of money to make us feel good. Is that the goal? Then okay. But I never really understood what our ultimate goal was. I think you can see a guy backstage at Universal Orlando and probably take their blood pressure and say, you know what? We probably ought to do a little checking up and take this one step further, as opposed to spending 20, 30,000 and everybody in the company being tested to create a baseline, which gets us nowhere.
So that's the way you felt as someone who had a financial stake in it. Now, as a wrestler, I want you to take your administrator hat on. I love being able to do this with you because no other show can really do this. So we're not going to talk about the business anymore. Now we're going to talk about it from the boys' perspective. As a wrestler, Jeff, do you believe in drug testing or no?
Testing for what?
I just want to ask the question, drug testing, and then if you have different answers for different
I'm not going to say, because I think it's a case by case basis. In 2008, if I've got my talent hat on and I know that I'm going to be tested, and I'm going to say this test, to have it all done, have all in, it's probably $300 to $500. I'm going to say, I tell you what, if you suspect something, then test me all the way. If not, can we split that money and you give me the $250 and you take that $250 and maybe spread it around the talent pool for a bonus for a match? Allocate your resources in a lot better way. At this stage of our company, if we're not publicly traded, test on calls, test on symptoms, test on I go back to the eye test. I think that's very important as a talent. If you suspect something's up, go test them. If you don't,
well, hang on now. When you say you suspect something's up, you mean in terms of their life has become unmanageable, they're not functioning as a human, or they're on steroids?
I think all the above. And look, I think there can be abuse in any type: alcohol, steroids, street drugs. And I also kind of go back to, and look, I've had this conversation with my dad off and on for years, and maybe Dutch, is that our talent independent contractors?
Yes.
if that's, you don't test your plumber when he comes in the house. I know it gets into such a gray area, but I think allocation of resources, if I'm wearing my talent hat, I think that's the priority.
Okay, well, I'm with you on that, but now let me just. You keep adding context. I want to remove some of the context. We're not talking about 2008 anymore. Now I'm just talking to Jeff Jarrett in 2022, 2023, I guess. Does Jeff Jarrett, the wrestler, think drug testing in wrestling is necessary?
No.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. I mean,
Yeah.
not from a financially it doesn't make sense and blah 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 standpoint, just in terms of I have always been under the impression that steroids are kind of like a personal choice, and it's not like it's giving a competitive advantage for real. It's not like this is a true blue combat sport where we're trying to beat each other's brains in for real. This is theater. This is Hollywood, and we're not testing The Rock before he does Black Adam. So why do we feel like we need to test guys before they go perform in the ring? That being said, I do believe in the safety of the performers, and I know that sometimes that can be a fine line. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Independent contractor sort of tells the story, does it not?
It does, and also that's why I'm saying that if you've got a guy, we'll just say he's reckless, well then I think that needs to be handled with between each talent, as well as we'll call it the office stepping in and saying, no, wait a minute, what's going on here? I just think, imagine this, use some practical common sense across the board in these kind of situations. I don't think you're ever going to get anywhere by testing. I just don't.